What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm also going to break down some very important factors involving the markets when it comes to economic data and factors like that. But just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total, not to mention 8.1% APY on uninvested cash. The offer ends very soon in just a couple of weeks. Anyways, now let's talk about Tesla and the markets. So Tesla did a good job at pushing, but as you guys could see, we've approached this 300 resistance. The last time we hit 300, we did get a rejection, and it's known historically for being a very, very tough level to break. So even if we go back on the chart like this, you guys could see there were instances where even like the lower 300s, 310s become a tough resistance. So I believe that Tesla is going to be fighting a tough resistance here, and the whole market is starting to show some signs that it might dip a little bit, which could slow Tesla down. So I just want to give you guys a heads up about that. There is a risk of us slowing down between 300 and 310, most likely closer to this like 300 area. So just be very, very mindful of that. And we'll have to see how Tesla performs from here. When it comes to our economic data, just know that today is Friday, November 8th, 2024. At 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 30 minutes after the market opens, we have the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Report, the 5-year inflationary expectations, and more data that's coming out that's quite important. We also have Bowman giving a speech, so we'll just see how it goes with that. But if anything, just know that that data is going to cause some volatility. For other pieces of news, just know that the market has been continuing to push through the election, but it's been very, very volatile, very, very vertical. And when that happens, you do tend to need a little pullback here and there. It is possible we could be getting very, very close to that. We had the FOMC meeting. Obviously, it wasn't really that significant, kind of lackluster. If anything, the Fed gave us a cut of 25 basis points. And Jerome Powell said the same things he typically says. He is feeling good about economic activity. So that was positive. That's why the market's still holding up at these levels. But now the question is, has the market priced all this in? And is the market going to see a very healthy pullback? Besides that, most earnings have been quite fine. I'm not seeing anything else that's too crazy on the news. Um, we just got Sony's earnings this morning. This is like one of the last ones for the week. And just know that Sony has raised its guidance on gaming strength, and they had good profits that beat expectations. Revenue is at basically 2.97 trillion yen. That was above expectations. Or I'm sorry, it's very close to expectations. Excuse me, guys. And then operating profits, however, were well above expectations. They're up 73% year over year. So it's the profits that really held this up. And then on top of this, we also saw some good guidance. They increased their guidance a little bit, which is not bad whatsoever. We're looking at 12.7 trillion yen. Before it was 12.6. So that's actually very important. I think it's actually 12.7 billion. I think that this needs to be adjusted right over here, but still not too bad whatsoever. A nice amount of growth projections, and I think that's very, very interesting. So good potential growth, a lot of good guidance, and that's part of why the share price is up quite a bit. On top of this, we're looking at some more details. Just know that as far as SPY goes, Max Payne is currently at 580 of a 2.24 put to call ratio. The majority of positions are in puts, but the market already squeezed so much, so this might not matter as much. Could there be a push towards the end of the day? Maybe, but I think initially there's going to be a bit of a sell-off coming. There might be a little sell-off that's coming just to start things off. And then we'll see if we get a push at the end of the day because of all the puts expiring. We do have a 2.24 put to call ratio, over 776,000 of these puts. On top of this, I just want to say that when it comes to the way Tesla's moving, in Mexico, there's been a lot of talk about how whether or not Tesla is going to be building a Gigafactory there. That's why the economic minister wants to meet up with Elon Musk. I think that it's very important for Tesla to kind of distinguish what their next plan is going to be, especially considering that under the new administration, there's going to be a change to tariffs. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see what Tesla ends up announcing, if they respond to this or waiting for Elon Musk to say something. But this is going to be something very important for Tesla's future. Now, what do we see for the share price of Tesla? Well, we've been trying to push for 300. We did reach 300 already during the pre-market. Actually, during this pre-market, we did touch it. But the issue is, can we break 300 or not? If 300 were to break, I'd be looking for 302 and 305. And if we kind of struggle to break this, there is going to be a risk of us coming back down to test the previous resistance, becoming support very close to the 290 area. So if we start pulling back, we're looking for basically 295 and eventually the excuse me, 295 then 290s are supports. We have an imbalance down here. And if that fails us, we're going to be coming even lower towards like 285. So there is going to be a risk of some downside back down to 290 if we can't break past 300. So watch that very carefully this morning. There might be some volatility thanks to the Michigan consumer sentiment data at 10 a.m., but just be mindful of this, guys. I just want to give you guys a heads up about Tesla. As far as SPY goes, SPY's pushed very, very nicely, but I do want to call this out. So if you look at it like this, we have this trend line acting as a resistance. We're very close to it, maybe depending on how you draw it. But if anything, it suggests that we're at this tough resistance. I mean, it does look like we're starting to turn over here. So to be bullish, you want to see us hold above 596 to break past 598. And if we can't hold above 596, I see a risk of us coming back down to 594, but potentially back down to 592.5. There might be a slight pullback today before it tries to rebound. So just keep that in mind, guys. We might actually see SPY dip a little bit. So it does look like it's starting to turn here. We'll see just to be safe, but that is what I'm projecting. For ES, the same thing. We did push very nicely to 6,000, but that's a tough resistance. We might be retracing back down to 59.80 if it does not hold. And then if it could go a little bit lower towards like 59.67, we'll see if we balance off one of these levels. So I'll just see a little bit more downside and we'll see what the reaction happens to be. For other stocks such as Nvidia, Nvidia pumped very nicely to about 150. We hit 150 exactly what I was predicting, but notice that's a tough resistance. So we're starting to dip right here. We could dip closer to 146 if 148 fails us. Just keep that in mind. If we break past 150, we're going to be pushing more, but look and see if we get a little bit of a dip. So give this the time it needs. For Bitcoin, Bitcoin's hitting this resistance around this 76,500 area. If we break this, we're looking for a bigger pump to 77,500. If you reject here, we're looking for a dip back down towards 75,000 flats. It is kind of consolidating in this range. Might slow down a bit and start cooling off towards the 75,000 areas. Just keep that in mind. For NQ, NQ pumped very nicely to 21,250, came just short of 21,300. If we can't get past 21,250, we're looking for basically 21,100 as our targets, followed by basically the 21,000 area. So there might be a little bit of a dip on NQ. It's starting to turn here. For the QQQ, I called out how it might be approaching 515, then to watch and see if we get a rejection or not. But notice that we ended up kind of like rejecting right here near this 515 area. We have not been able to hold above that, so there is a risk of us coming back down towards 511 and then eventually back down towards 510, followed by this imbalance fill towards 507. So watch those levels. Might be a pullback on the QQQ. Aapl pumped very nicely to 228. If we don't break through that to hit 230, there is a risk of us coming back down to like 226. For other factors out there, we have the IWM. It pushed very nicely, now starting to dip. We could be retracing back down towards 234, back down to these lows right over here. Amazon, it's turning, like I said in my video yesterday, might be dipping back down towards 205. Coin, it pushed very nicely. It still could try to fight for 260. So, like I said yesterday, there's some juice left. Look for a test of 260. We'll see if it breaks through that or not. If it breaks, look for 262 and 265. But if it rejects, we're going to be dipping. So we're just waiting to see what happens during the test of resistance. Meta's rejecting, could be dipping down to 585 soon. Microsoft could be dipping back down for 421. Google could also be dipping back down towards 180 then 178. It came just short of our target of 183, so it might be dipping a little bit from here. With that being said, guys, the whole market looks like it might pull back just a little bit. It is due for that. We already pumped so much. It is a Friday. There might be some profit taking. So watch Tesla at 300. We'll see if Tesla could break and hold above 300. If it does, look for 302 and 305. What I think is going to happen is we might see a little bit of a push attempt close to 300. I don't know if we'll hold above that, though. It's a very, very tough resistance. Then we might see Tesla turn over with the market and start dipping closer to like 295, then eventually 290. That's what I think is very probable. We'll see how well it does. So watch the levels and just know there is a risk of us turning back down, just temporarily, right? Not forever, just a temporary move. Thank you for listening, guys. I'll see you guys in a couple of hours for another update, and peace out.